Welcome to the podcast, Living Your Life by Oak Values. My name is Robert, and I host this podcast with my friend Gary, where we dive deep and share meaningful stories and discuss values that help shape our lives. We will explore how to use these values to guide us through life, shaping our decisions and relationship, and raising our kids. We'll embrace the journey of personal growth and navigate our own paths. We are committed to living by these values and passing them on to our children. We are thrilled to have you here and can't wait to share our latest episodes. Whether you're a longtime listener or just now discovering us, welcome. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the comments below and check us out on northmancoaching.com. You're welcome to join our community, Northman Legacy Crew, and let us know what topics you're most interested in hearing about. Sign up with your email for behind-the-scenes sneak peeks and exciting updates. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Happy listening. All right, so today's episode, we're just going to really talk about how we got started, what brought us into this, and what people should expect to hear in these episodes, podcasts of ours. What is the concept behind them? So I met Gary down in Mexico. Actually, I did not meet you in Mexico. It was Asheville. Up in Asheville, North Carolina at a men's retreat. Actually, I didn't know much about him at all back then. I know we hiked the mountain, and I think you told me the story of your values then, how you found your values using cards. It wasn't until Mexico, a year later, that we actually got together and started working on this project. So just give us a rundown on why this project is important to you.
Sure. So I'm Gary, and I met Rob in Asheville, North Carolina on a men's retreat. I'm not even sure how we clicked so well, but we did. We did climb that mountain together, Rattlesnake Trail, I believe it was, or Rattlesnake something. And then after we left Asheville, we did, we coached each other quite a few times. We were in a course together, a fitness course. And then we went to another retreat a year later in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And that is where the cards really took a turn. I started the cards originally when I had gotten divorced, and I was looking to identify my values, which I had no idea what they were. I put them all in index cards, and I looked up, common core values, and I wrote them all down in index cards with the definition on the back, so I would understand them better. And once I figured out my values, I went from I think there was 68 of them down to 20 or so, and I got that down to 10. But those 10 values was still it was too much to live authentically. So I had to get that down a little lower. So I got it down to 3 values that stood out to me, but they were still all on index cards, and they weren't doing anybody any good except for myself. And when I was in Mexico with Rob, one of the coaches that was there with us, Charlie, had mentioned that I need to do something with these cards because I'd showed it to him when he was visiting me a year prior, I think it was. Maybe it was even 2 years. I'm not sure. But he said I need to do something with this so that other men can have this stepping stone that I've created. So then it was after Mexico that me and you started knocking these out. We found a print shop, one failed print shop, one good print shop, and took a little work, but with your hard work and computer knowledge, we got what we needed. And yeah, that was it. That was the story pretty much.
Awesome. I think we rushed the conversation just a little bit, but...
Did we? Okay.
Yeah, because, you just blurbed out your whole life story right there.
Well, no, I didn't. That's how we started.
Yeah.
That's how this whole thing started. That was it. That's the real deal right there.
However, talking about values, if you would have asked me what were my values, I'd have said yes. I get a lot when I talk to other men is that, yes, they quote, quote, know their values. It wasn't until I got a hold of your box of 60-something values, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't even know there were that many values. I didn't even know the definition to half of them, tell you the truth. To me, it was like a slap in the face going, whoa, slow down, Robert. You think you're learning something, but you don't even know who you are. I was just mimicking stuff that people had taught me, wasn't even understanding what I was mimicking. Does that make sense?
Okay. Absolutely makes sense. That's how you learn, by mimicking, by repeating what you see. From learning how to talk and learning how to walk, you're just mimicking your parents or your brothers or sisters or whoever's in your life. So all of the growth, well, I'd say most of the growth starts out as mimicking until you realize or become the man that you want to be. And then it becomes more natural.
Hmm. What would you say to the man that says, "Hey, I know my values. I don't need these cards"? Because honestly, truth, you get a hold of a lot of guys like that, but then when you hand them the box of cards, they're like me and they go, "Oh crap, this is amazing." It's like you have to put it in their hands for them to.
I've asked that question to a lot of men. Do you know your values? And the answer is almost always yes, I know my values.
Hmm.
But when asked, what are your values? They really can't answer that question. Or they come up with some things, which are values, sure, but they don't know the meaning of them and they don't actually live those values. A lot of people will have like faith. They go to church. That's great. That's awesome. Do they follow the word of their God? I have no idea. I know when I was looking for my values, I had no idea what they were. Didn't have a clue as to what a value was. So when I did, all these definitions, the 10 I came up with, I can't remember all of them, but it was passion, happiness, love, authenticity, honesty. There was 10 of them, and I couldn't even tell you, but I've narrowed all of those down to just my one most important core value is authenticity. Because
Hmm.
if I am the man that I am, then everything else falls into place. But every man that I've talked to that has gotten these cards from me say the same as you. They are amazed. It was unexpected to what they were going to receive, and that they've figured out more about their own life just from this box than they could do in their own. So that felt great to hear that.
Yeah, even early on, I had a question and I have it written down is like, are values something we learn or are we naturally born with them? And I was like, oh wow, that was a good question. But at the same time, as I look through this box, I'm like, wow, I have to learn a lot of this. And I have to keep working hard. I have to work hard to keep that value relevant in my life.
Well, two things on that. I feel like values are definitely learned, but I think personally that deep down inside everybody wants to be a better human being. So the idea of values is there. I mean, I don't know anybody that wants to not be a good human. So I think the idea of values are there, but you do have to learn them. And to be authentic, it sounds like a lot, but I am just me. I'm honest about me, about everything. And if you don't like it, you can take it or leave it. This is who I am. So it's actually very easy. I think it becomes easier once you let go of the need to please people or the need to find people to bring into your circle. Once you realize that you are fine on your own or with like minded people, being authentic is very easy.
Mhm. Gary, I know the story and how these cards came about and such. And I know that we put a lot of time and effort in the first go round. You practically cried because the printer guy that we used did a crappy job. I went and asked a printer friend of mine, and he was like, "Yes, you need to get it reprinted. That's a sloppy work." Tell us about that.
Sure. So the first place I went to was it was here in my hometown. It was a very old school place. Like it reminded me of something out of like Goodfellas. It was very mob like, very old school with like respect, a lot of respect there.
Hmm.
And guy told me he could do the job, he would do it well, and that he had done things for other people with other companies that things that did really well. So I was very excited when the product came in. Well, it took far longer than he said. I remember he said it would be the end of the week, and it was like 2 weeks later. And I actually remember calling you and telling you I was on my way to pick him up, and I was so excited. And I got home and I opened them. I don't know if I was almost crying, but I was very upset. It was
No.
quality was so poor, the cuts were so bad. I knew that I couldn't even give this away. I couldn't put this idea that I had on this shoddy work and give it to people because it would just make me look bad. It would make us look bad. So then we had to redo it, got a new printing company, and they knocked it out of the park. They, with the rounded edges, and it's like a playing card. They're nice, they're smooth, they can be shuffled.
Well, that goes into the point that we put a lot of thought and effort into this. How they hold, how they fit in your hand, the QR codes, concept of, yes, we can even pass them out as like business card. I mean, if any of those cards resonate with anybody, they can take that card with them, scan the QR code, get more, and they're actually beautiful as gifts to give to people. Especially people who are working on self-improvement and finding their values.
As far as the giving it as a gift, I know for a fact that a few of them that were sold were given as gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not a coach like you or me, like, so I went through and I lived every single value in that box
Mm.
just so that I could experience it and discuss it with people. But I still have my one core value. I have three of them probably. I definitely have three of them, but one means the most, which is authenticity.
Mm.
So if you're not like interested in living all of these values, then it is a great gift. Once you discover your values, you write those down. Each deck comes with I think it was 6 blank cards, so you can write them down, and you can
Mm-hmm.
give the whole deck away to somebody else who's trying to learn.
Yep.
Of course, I would prefer that they were sold, but if you wanted to give them to somebody, you could absolutely reuse these things.
And that's why we're making these podcasts and YouTube videos to help people when they get these cards, they can log onto the website and go, well, how do you use these values in your life? And we'll share our stories about how we use values in our life or how somebody else uses their values in their life. So it's not just a word on a card, but it's a link to a community of people who understand how to use that value in their life.
Absolutely. I don't know, was that a question or a statement? I don't know, but every card at face value is nothing more than a word and a definition, with a cool little QR code and a picture of an oak tree. But if you link it together with the YouTube and the TikTok videos and the podcast, we are going to, not only will it be the word and the definition, but it will also give you stories of how you and I or any guest that we have on here has lived that value and what life was like prior to living and understanding that value. So any listener will understand what it's like to not have this value and to live with this value. So it'll be easier for that person that's listening know how to utilize the values if they decide that they are for them.
One thing we didn't talk about and nobody really asked is, what does the oak tree stand for on those cards?
Well, the oak tree, I have a tattoo of an oak tree, but the oak tree is the strongest wood, one of the most strongest woods or trees out there. The root system is very, very strong, and oak trees roots, they tie in with each other so that if you're like there's a storm, the oak trees will help each other to not fall down. Just like in the men's community, we hold each other together so that one man will not fall down if he's surrounded by us. And also, when the oak tree dies, it burns the hottest flame to keep you warm. So it is constantly a very strong tree.
Cool.
We didn't discuss that last time. That went pretty well.
I
I think
know. Something you said made me think about the oak tree. And I was like, you know what? We didn't discuss that last time. And I'm glad we did. So,
yes, me too. Because that means a lot, actually. It really does.
yeah. Well, I mean, it is part of the whole symbol of the oak tree, oak values, the whole works.
I don't know if you care, but that tattoo that I have with the oak tree, it also has a compass rose, which allows me to always find my true north. So strong like an oak tree and have the compass rose, so I know my true north. And it actually has the dates and Roman numerals of the date that I realized that I was enough.
Awesome. So you and I both know that these are fantastic products. What would you say to somebody who sits there and goes, you created this product, give or take, it's not flying off the shelf, but it's worthy to be flying off the shelf, I guess. At the same time, we've given a lot away because of the concept of what those are.
This point in time right now, as of today, they are not flying off the shelf. When they were created and they went live, they flew. We sold quite a few the first like week or two, and then it died off for a little while. And then there was a few pops where I'd sell a bunch, then it would die. And I think it was about maybe a few weeks ago we sold several of them. I'm not really sure. And then a lot have been given away to people that I know that couldn't afford it, but wanted to do this work. So I wanted them to have their hands on it. So I gave them away. But overall, they're moving well. I'm happy with it, and all that matters is that people get their hands on them and they can discover their values and become, just live a better life, become a better man.
Part of that, though, is being realistic. And that's what I want. I want these podcasts not to be just us telling a story, but us having a conversation about these values. Because part of the concept is yes, we need to be talking about them more often, because sometimes, like the other day, you forget what one is and you pick it up and you're going, oh, wow, I like that value now. I need to start living by it more often.
Do you have any values like that in this deck?
What was the one that I picked up the other day that we were just got done talking with? I tell you what, just randomly go through one and pick up one and see.
Well, it's funny because the one I had an issue with, and I actually, it is one of my core values. I just pulled it out, is altruism.
Dang, if that ain't the one I just picked.
Is it really?
Well, it was two from the top. The first one is affection, and the next one is altruism. Yeah, and I was like, I don't like that word, but I was like, you know what? I need to think about that word more often.
Well, it's funny because so the definition is the unselfish regard for devotion to the welfare of others. What does that mean? I don't have a clue what that means. But when I talked about this on TikTok, in my previous life, I was with this life, but before this coaching, I was a chef and a restaurant manager. And once I got divorced, I took my Thanksgivings for the first few years and I volunteered at the homeless shelter, tying up turkeys and getting food ready for the homeless, the people that were less fortunate than me. Which is funny because looking back on it, I felt like I was pretty less fortunate. I just lost my family, but I was trying to see the brighter side of things. And I knew that I was okay. And I knew that I could take my skills and talent to help others that were less fortunate. I would not have called that altruism because I had no idea what that word was until I did these values. So there you have it, altruism. I would have never said that was me until I did the work.
We're running over a little bit now.
All right, so then let's be done. Let's cut it off. So make sure when you cut it off, you say, stay authentic.
All right, folks. And that's a wrap for today's episode. And of course, thank you all out there for listening. We are so glad you could join us today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, Living Your Life by Oak Values. And if you feel generous, leave us a review. It helps us out and keeps these conversations going. For more updates and exclusive content, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and visit our website at northmancoaching.com. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode that you don't want to miss. Until then, keep discussing your values, embracing the journey, take care, and stay authentic.